we have 4 simple rules. Number 1, we don't discuss politics, ever. Number 2, this is not a religious channel, and while you might hear people say, God bless you, or I'm going to pray for you, or I wouldn't have gotten through this without my faith, that's fine. What's not fine is to say, my God is better than your God, or here's why you're not getting into heaven. It's not going to fly. Number 3, we believe wholeheartedly if you can't control your tongue, then you can't control your life. So while on board, there's not going to be any cursing in the live chat, period. And number 4, there is no room for mean people on the lifeboat. Because we discuss very sensitive things from people's past in our group setting, we got to protect those people. The only way they feel confident and comfortable discussing those things is in an environment that is free of trolls and mean people. So if you're a mean person or you're a troll, we're going to block you for life. And if your account happens to be less than 24 hours old, we're probably a little suspicious right from the word go. Why? Well, because there are people in this world who enjoy being cruel solely for the sake of being cruel. It's not going to fly here. But if you're here because you're trying to get sober and live your best life, then you might find that the lifeboat is just that, a lifeboat. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville, and we will see you on deck.
Hey, good morning, everybody. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville, and you are on the lifeboat. Like the shades? Huh? Not a bad look, huh? Pretty slick. These are Costa del Mars, and they block out light considerably better than my other ones. In fact, these are so damn dark that it is almost impossible to read anything you guys are writing. However, I am here. So this was a bit of an unplanned morning, so we're going to wing it here. The Heather was going to take this morning's boat. Trouble was, there's no power in the part of Utah that she's in. In fact, she's not had power now for a long time. It was sometime last night where the power kicked off. So fortunately, I was having a tough time sleeping. So when she sent me a text saying that she didn't think she was going to be able to get enough of a charge on her phone to be able to do this, then she reached out to me and I said, yeah, I can do it. The reason I was awake is having a bit of a migraine, and this started in at about 2 a.m. On the bright side, after Johnny and I did the show last night, I went to bed shortly thereafter. So I actually got a decent amount of sleep in spite of the fact that this migraine came on. I was able to book a decent amount of sleep before it got out of control. So on the rest side of things, I'm pretty good. On the headache side, not so much. And in the past couple of migraines, what I have done is I have upped the amount of Suboxone that I take, because in theory, Suboxone is a painkiller and it would work as a painkiller on normal people. It does not do a whole lot as a painkiller to people who have opiate use disorder. So this time I didn't bother because I don't want to up the amount of Suboxone that I do for no apparent reason. I got down to the point where I'm doing under 4 milligrams a day, and they started me out at 16, and I'm tapering down because I think I've mentioned this on the boat before. I am going to be going to Sublocade. And if I've never talked about Sublocade on the boat, it is an injection that you get in your stomach, kind of like you would get if you were a diabetic. Just sort of squeeze it and shoot it. And it has a half-life of 60 days. They recommend that you come in once a month, but most of the people that I have talked to who are on Sublocade have said that you really only have to go in about once every 45 days. You know, you won't start feeling any kind of cravings or anything like that for at least 45 days. And some people even say 60. But what it does is it eliminates you getting up in the morning, right, and taking something. And that mindset of I get up, I got to do this. I get up, I got to do this. I get up, I got to do this. Is supposed to make the transition back to life with nothing easier. Funny thing is, I mean, I don't know, because for me, I'm not one of those guys that gets up in the morning and rushes immediately to take Suboxone. In fact, very often I forget to take it. So I have to set an alarm on the phone so that in case I forgot, the alarm will tell me that that it's Suboxone time, so I won't forget to take one over the course of a day. So nothing prepared today. So what I'm going to do is this. I talk about how this is kind of a metaphor for life. It's also a metaphor for sobriety. There are going to be days where literally nothing goes right. There are going to be days where you just do not want to have anything to do with getting up and doing the things that you have to do in life. It could be because of a pain. It could be because of spiritual pain. It could be because of relationship pain. It could be all of the above, right? You could have every single thing falling apart at the same time. Regardless, you kind of have to get up and face the day. And it's the same thing with sobriety. All of these small discomforts or large discomforts, depending on what the case is, these are the biggest threats you've got to sobriety. We talk about it all the time on the lifeboat, that your brain is not your friend, it's your enemy. In terms of being a recovering addict, your brain would like to go back to the status quo. Your brain would like to not have to think. It would like to not have to cope or deal with any of the problems that you have to deal with as a regular, run-of-the-mill civilian, right? Tax-paying member of the normal public. It would rather have you wasted. And I know that makes no sense, but I use the analogy all the time of the gambler. You know, why does a gambler win $100,000 and then hand every single penny of it back before they walk out of a casino? Because the loss, the feeling of I just lost all of my money, is baseline. It is what they are comfortable with because it's been going on for so long that they're not comfortable with winning. And it's very similar for the addict. We're not comfortable being successful. We're not comfortable being sober. There's a whole bunch of research that's been done by a whole bunch of different people at a bunch of different universities to try to chase down what it is exactly. And I don't mean chemically, because we understand that there's a problem in the brain. We understand which part of the brain fires and which part of the brain doesn't, right? So you've got super activity in one side that is hyperactivity. It's reacting more than it should. And on a PET scan, it shows up almost white hot because, you know, those scans look like, they look like a thermometer almost, you know, like they're shooting something in an infrared. And the blue areas of the brain, or the areas, or the gray areas of the brain, are the areas where you don't have a whole lot going on in terms of activity. And we understand that addiction is exactly that. It's one part of the brain that works more than it should, and it's one part of the brain that does not work nearly as hard as it's supposed to. That's what we can take a picture of. However, what that does to every individual is different, which is remarkable, right? You would think that if this is the same phenomenon in 200 people, then all of them would suffer from the exact same kind of feelings, but that's simply not the case. And this is why you have some addicts who, you know, there are people who are addicted to alcohol who drink 3 times a week. Now, there are people who are addicted to alcohol who go, how is that possible? If the person cannot drink 3 days a week, obviously they're not an addict. The difference is this. They will sit down, and if you put 3 bottles on the table, they'll drink 3 bottles. If you put 6 bottles on the table, they'll drink 6 bottles. And if you put 2/5, they're going to do everything within their power to drink both of them. It is a different form of addiction, to where they will drink until they are unconscious. They will drink until they feel nothing, while other addicts will drink until they get just enough lowered inhibition that they can communicate with people and they don't feel like they're uncomfortable in their own skin. The first example I gave you are people that feel so uncomfortable in their skin that the only way that they're comfortable is unconscious. This translates into all kinds of other drugs. Believe it or not, you know, there are people who suffer with drugs like methamphetamine or cocaine who don't do them every day. They go on runners. So a person will swear off of the stuff. I'm not doing this again. I'm never going to touch this stuff. I'm going to get my life in order. and then they relapse. And a relapse isn't, I went out and I bought a gram. A relapse is 4 months of their life that they sleep 3 times in, catch a couple of new criminal charges. The landscape of addiction and what it does to the host is so varied, it's incredible. But recovery is not. So no matter what kind of affliction, no matter what kind of symptoms your disease manifests itself in, whether the symptoms are coke or heroin or, alcohol or any number of symptoms, well, as you begin to get sober, the brain is going to do different things to different people, but trust and believe it is going to do everything in its power to get back to baseline. If you were uncomfortable in your own skin because you had a difficult time speaking in public, and I don't mean like a room full of 500 people, I mean 4 people, communicating when it's more than just you and your mate or you and your spouse or you and your best friend. If that's how you feel uncomfortable in your own skin, many times people just need to, to take the edge off of that. Those people, when in recovery, that's what the brain's going to do. The brain is going to make you feel 5 times more uncomfortable around people than you used to because it wants to drive you back. In my particular affliction, because of the fact that I was addicted to pain medication, the symptom that started the entire thing was the feeling that I was inadequate and stupid, that I was not a very intelligent person, and that the rest of the world could do things in terms of education that I was incapable of. So that's something that my brain is going to try to stick me with as often as possible. If I'm trying to set something up on a computer, I'm in danger because computers make me feel like I missed the boat, and I did. I mean, logic would say, you know what, you did 10 years in prison. I mean, technology changes quite a bit. And you really weren't the computer generation. I mean, we didn't have smartphones when we were kids. We look at the generations today that grew up on this stuff, and to them, it's second nature. To us, it is not. I grew up in the day of the rotary telephone. So I should cut myself a break, right? I can't, because that's not what the brain wants to do. Then on top of that, the number of surgeries and the number of broken bones and the number of years that I spent taking pain medication, not to get high, but just to overcome the amount of pain that I was living with so that I could walk, talk, ski, do the things that I needed to do. So for me, when I am at my highest risk for relapse is when I am in serious pain. And then if you throw on to that same day the feeling of stupidity or inadequacy or the feeling that I'm not smart enough to do the things that need to be done. Everyone else is, but I'm not. Then just for giggles, what if you toss in, wow, was that yeah, okay. Then what if you toss in just for giggles, say a really bad relationship problem? Let's say you and your business partner are at each other's throats, or you and your girlfriend are on the rocks, or you and your wife are getting a divorce, or whatever the case may be. What am I getting at? I'm getting at that no matter what life throws at you, you get up and you do what needs to be done. It is a matter of literally telling your brain, you don't run this show. I run this show. I was laying in bed and I was feeling pretty sorry for myself because, as I've mentioned to people on the boat numerous times, I don't get headaches for the vast majority of my life. And I'm talking about 5 decades. I probably had 4 headaches. I just don't get them. And 2023 has been a completely different ballgame. Now I get them often. And light is absolutely unbelievable. I seriously thought about shooting this thing in the dark, right? With just, so that you would hear my voice and you might see an outline of me. What I have been doing instead is basically I've been keeping my eyes shut. I figure if entertainers like Stevie Wonder and Ray Charles can do it, right? Without being able to see. I most assuredly should be able to just do a show where all I have to do is talk. And why get up? I could have laid in bed, or I could have texted Heather and said, you know what? Maybe you could just get enough battery on your deal to post something that says, unfortunately, because of technical difficulties, there will be no lifeboat today. The reason that doesn't happen is more than just I have made a commitment to people who I would like to give every opportunity in the world to stay sober, to give them an opportunity to come here every morning and every night, to spend a couple hours a day, even if you're only here for 15 minutes of the boat, or you're here for 20 minutes of the boat, or whatever the case may be, to show up and see that there is a group of other people that are struggling through the same things you are. Very often, that is enough to get somebody through hard times. So I'll be damned if I'm going to skip out on that. I take that pretty seriously. The other side of the coin is it's the start. It's the first domino falling. And I have spent my entire life knocking over dominoes. And I know that if I start caving into the first round of responsibilities, I get an email that says, I can't do the boat. Is there a chance you could do it? And I go, yeah, not today. You know what I mean? I got a really bad headache. I'm gonna skip this one. I'm just gonna skip this one. And then I get up in the morning and I go, you know what? My head hurts. It's killing me. I'm not gonna make the bed today. It's no big deal. It's one day, right? It's just not that big a deal. And you know what? If I skip cleaning the cat's litter box for a day, it's one day, right? What's one day gonna do? What it's going to do is it's going to tell my brain that it's making headway. The dominoes will start to fall. And the brain, who is most assuredly not my friend, you can work on this for you and see what happens. But for me, I know that there is a part of my brain that is fighting me at every single turn to try to get me to stick a needle in my arm. So it's almost like a war of attrition, and I do not intend to give up 1 foot in this war. I do not intend to give up an inch, because I know what can happen. I know that once I start to blow off one thing, I'll start to blow off another. And then you know what happens? Then you start to get into the stuff like, you know what? I don't want to do the boat tonight. I just don't want to do it. And you can't really put up something that says, I don't want to do the boat. So you know what I'll do? I'll just, I'll tell them I'm having problems with the computer, or I'll tell them something that isn't true. And then I'm starting down a rabbit hole that I lived in for more than 3 decades. Very often, the crap that comes down the pike in life is a metaphor for life. And it is a metaphor for sobriety. There are going to be days where we get up and the to-do list is going to make you want to vomit, or worse, it's going to make you want to get high. If you blow off that to-do list, just once. And I know there are people listening to me who say, you know what, Tommy, I can blow off things on the list. I do it all the time. And then I get right back to it. Let me tell you something. Whether you realize it or not, you started. Right? I've seen relapse take 3 years. I've seen relapse take longer than that, where a person just starts losing a little bit of ground in the war of attrition. They just start losing a little bit of ground and a little bit of ground. I don't need to make the bed. Even if I don't make it this week, what's the big deal? Yeah, and I stopped journaling about 6 months ago, but I don't get high. It's not like I'm doing any of those things, right? It's not like I'm hanging out with any of the old friends that I used to hang out with or going to places. Well, I mean, I do talk to Kevin now, and Kevin and I did get high together, but it's not like we even discussed drugs. And the next thing you know, you have lost so much ground that the next thought is, you know what? I got 9 years in? I got 10 years in? I got 6 years in? I'm going to drink 2 beers. Like, I don't even intend to get drunk. I'm just going to have 2 beers. I guarantee you I can do it. And if by some chance it was tough, I already made 6 years. I could quit again. It's a couple of beers. It's no big deal. Really, it's no big deal. One line, just smoke a little bit of heroin off of tin foil. I'm just going to do it once. And amazingly, I've seen that work. Truthfully, a week, 2 weeks, maybe a month. Person drinks 2 beers and goes, see, told you. I didn't even drink a third. I had 2 beers at the pub and then I went home. I got this licked. Next weekend, same drill. They go out, 2 beers. Now they're literally bragging to people. That, I had to take off for a really long time to get it back under control, but I got it back under control. And then one day you drink about 6. And you say to people, look, it was one day, I got a little out of control. It was a football game. I was excited as hell. You know what I mean? We were winning. And then it went into overtime. So I ordered a couple more beers. It's a big deal. 2 months later, you're pulling on a fifth of vodka at 5 a.m. to get your hand to stop doing this one so that you can get up and get your clothing on to go to work, or maybe not go to work. It's not overly dramatic. I'm not making this more than what it is. It literally is a metaphor for life. I hope everybody gets that. It is a metaphor for life. And there are times that we just got to bite the bullet. There are times that we just have to do that which we do not want to do. Because in the process of doing it, we're bitch slapping that part of our brain that tells us what's going to happen. And we say, not on my watch. Not going to happen. In, 30 minutes or so, maybe a little bit less than that, the sun is going to come up over that hill. And I would imagine that looking at it is going to hurt, because it's going to be very much like these lights that I got going right now. When I open my eyes, it definitely makes this headache a hell of a lot worse. But I'm not going to miss that sunrise. It may sound really stupid. It may sound like it's just not that big a deal. Who cares, Tommy? It's one sunrise. I'm not giving up an inch. It may sound silly. It really may sound silly. But all of you are blessed in that you never knew me when. When I do shows and I talk about page 2 Tommy and the person that I used to be, there is literally no way to do any justice to it. I know that the day is coming where somebody from my past life is going to come across this channel. And on that day, you guys will get a pretty good idea. It's bound to happen. So you see somebody pop up in the comment section and start talking about just what an absolute piece of crap I was when they knew me. They won't be lying. They won't be. The stories that they will tell, I would say, unless they're just being a jerk, every one of them that they tell will be true. I cared about one thing and one thing only, and that was me. My God was gone. My family was gone. My morals were gone. My ethics, forget it. I am so terrified of being page 2 Tommy ever again in my life that I can't give up an inch. Not a friggin' inch. So there are going to be days that I have to do the lifeboat and sunglasses with my eyes shut. There are going to be those days. I'm not telling anybody how to live. If you feel like you can't go to work, don't go to work. I mean, I'm not here to judge any human being, but what I'm here to do is tell you this. Journal your ass off. If there's one thing that you do not ever skip and you do not ever give up, no matter how bad you feel, it's journaling. Because the part of your brain that wants you to fail and the part of your brain that writes down in a book are not the same part of the brain. And when you begin to write down, okay, so you know what? Heather called this morning and I just didn't feel like doing the boat, so I didn't do it. As you start to write that down and you start to read your own words, you're going to scare the hell out of yourself. You're going to go, good God, what am I doing? Am I going towards sobriety or am I going away from sobriety? Next month will be 8 years. I am no more comfortable at 8 years than I was at 1 year or 2 years. And don't get me wrong. I am the person that says, I am never doing drugs again, ever. Every program out there says to you, Don't ever say never. You cannot say you're never going to do drugs. It is a dangerous thing to do. It puts too much pressure on you. You must say that you're not going to do it today, because breaking it off into small chunks. And if that works for you, fantastic. Seriously. If that works for you, great. I'm not telling you to do anything otherwise, but I'm telling you how I do it. See, I go the other route and I say, there is no way in hell that I am ever going to do dope again. And when people say, you can't say that because you're not sure. Do you know how I'm sure? Because I'm going to get up and I'm going to do what has to be done. And I don't care if it hurts. I don't care if it's excruciating. I'm going to get up and I'm going to do what needs to be done, because I'm afraid to give up that 1 inch. I know if I don't do anything that I did as the old Tommy, that I will never become the old Tommy. There is no spontaneous explosion. I have watched so many people relapse, and people will say, no, the guy was just doing great until he went and grabbed. No, he wasn't. Sorry, I guarantee it. Small little things. We do not relapse. We don't go from perfect sober, everything great, we haven't done a damn thing wrong, to grabbing a case of beer or a bag of smack. And if you think that happened to you, it's because you don't journal. Promise you. Relapse is a process, and it is a process that goes in stages. It is, and the last stage is when you get in the car and you drive to the parking lot at Home Depot to meet the heroin guy, or it is driving to the liquor store, or whatever is how you get your chemical of choice to put into your body. That's the final stage of relapse. And people seem to forget all of the ones before that, right? Where you start off with the mental part, or some people say you start with the emotional, but you can go either way on it. It doesn't really matter. If you start off with the mental part, you just start thinking about it and you start telling yourself lies. You know what? Yeah, I drank way too much. I did, but I wasn't out of control. I really was never out of control. I just abused it. And, I've had it under control for a really long time. It's usually the first thought. No big deal. The second thought is, tell you what, I do miss the taste of that shit though. I miss the taste of that stuff. It was, you start telling yourself stuff like that, right? That's how it works. And that goes on with some people a day. Some people it takes a week. But then you get into the emotional part, where virtually every single emotion that you have over the course of a couple of days, it just starts wearing you down and wearing you down and wearing you down. And then you romanticize memories, and those memories are attached to emotions. So you think about the time that you and 4 friends went to see Pink Floyd on a bunch of ecstasy. You don't remember getting evicted from the apartment 4 days later. You don't remember the fact that 2 of those guys aren't with you anymore because they've overdosed and died. You just remember the hour and 40 minutes that you were watching the show, and wasn't that fantastic? What a good time. And then you romanticize it, you make it better and better and better. And you start lying to yourself. And then inevitably you get to that last stage. And that last stage is where you're putting the keys in the car. When you start having really stupid thoughts like, I wasn't that out of control. It really wasn't that bad. Look, I've already quit once, even if I started and it was out of control, I could quit again. I've already proven that. You start having those thoughts. You get a hold of somebody in your 5, right? You say, hey man, I'm having thoughts that are scaring the crap out of me. I am giving up land in this war. I'm giving up land. If the person in your 5 has anything on the ball, they're going to say, you didn't stop journaling, did you? No, I'm still journaling. Good. Go back and read the last 2 weeks. I promise you, you will see exactly when it happened. There will be something that you read that jumps out at you. I ran into so-and-so today. Man, I'd like to kill that dude. I can't believe how bad he did me dirty. Honestly, you know what? I just can't get it. Yeah, right around that day. Or I got into a fight with my significant other. She accused me of lying, or she accused me of cheating, or she accused me of, but whatever you write down in there, that's going to be the catalyst. When you go back, you're going to read that and you're going to go, that was it. That was the spot at which I started giving up land. The beautiful thing is, if you catch it in the mental part of the relapse, you can jam the brakes on. You absolutely can reboot the computer, put a different roadmap in, whip that car around, and start doing the things necessary to stay sober. Start doing the things necessary to live your best life. If it slides by that, and you're now into the romanticizing of the chemical, and you're starting to think about, man, all of the great times. Someone in your 5 will say, okay, so you've been thinking a lot about all of the great times you've had. Do me a favor. Make me a list of the 10 worst times. The 10 times where you found yourself somewhere and you said, good God, how did I get here? I pulled up to Lewisburg, Pennsylvania, the United States Penitentiary at Lewisburg, built in 1930 as part of a 4-prison deal that was built in the United States. One was Leavenworth. One was USP Atlanta. One was the one in at Lewisburg. And then the last one was Lompoc. They don't look like any other prison in the U.S. because they were built under one specific grant or one specific funding. They don't look like the normal prisons do. The normal prisons are very, very distinct looking. They're very utilitarian, and they're just ugly. These were built to look like castles and cathedrals, and they're the scariest looking freaking buildings you've ever seen in your life. And I had been to 6 or 7 prisons by that point. But we pulled up to that place, and there's this 50-foot wall made of concrete. It's like 4 feet wide and like 50 feet tall. And sticking up out of the top of it is this huge tower that has a clock on it. And it is just, it looks like something out of friggin' Batman. And everybody, coming back from the airport on the way there, everybody's clowning and joking. And we pulled up in the sight of that thing, and these hard gangbangers and these people that had killed people, you could have heard a pin drop, because every single person in that bus was having the exact same thought. How did I go from someone who had all of the potential in the world to this place? How did I go from somebody that could have been anything to this place? Those are the things you should be thinking about when you start to romanticize drugs. Oh, yeah, I remember that time it was so, oh, screw that, Lewisburg. Or the time you looked into your parents' eyes and said to them, I'm addicted to heroin. The reason money's been disappearing, the reason things have been, nobody ripped you guys off, I did. Or your kid looks at you and says, I can't find my bike. Yeah. You want to romanticize your drug? You want to start sliding backwards? Make a list of the people you hurt. Make a list of the times you saw that hurt. Sometimes you can hurt people at a distance. You can hurt people in a way that, as a junkie, you can just brush that over. You don't have to give a crap. But I remember my dad picking me up in a car. I called him from a payphone. And when I got in the car, he just looked at me and said, what the hell is wrong with you? Look at you. And I said, I'm addicted to heroin. If I make 500, and I don't think I'll make 60, but if I make 500, that will be something that I don't ever forget. When I say, I'm never going to get high again, I promise you I'm never going to get high again. Plain and simple, I am never going to get high again. May sound silly as shit to you people, it really might. But my ace in the hole is journaling. I've never once said something on this lifeboat that isn't written down. I promise you. I've never told a story. I've never talked about pain. I've never done anything in front of this camera that I have not already confessed to my journal. And as opposed to like I'm doing it now, there was probably 4 or 5 pages in that about what it felt like. It is a memory that is so permanently etched in every part of me, my soul, my heart, my eyes, and most assuredly my mind, completely. So the show must go on. There are going to be days in all of our lives. I don't care what you do for a living. I don't care if you mow lawns. There are days that you're going to have to get up and mow a lawn when you really don't want to. You know, you work on a telephone. There are days that you're going to get up and do it when you don't want to. And I'm not talking about sick. You know what I mean? You're vomiting in the toilet. You know, the idea is not that you torture yourself. The idea is that you don't lie to yourself. Are you capable of getting up and doing it? Well, then do it. You know, if you're vomiting or you're having a difficult time, you know, going to the bathroom before you get to the bathroom, obviously that's a day you take off. There's nothing sinful in that. You know, there's nothing that threatens your sobriety about not going to work if you're ill as hell. But if you're capable of doing it, you know, if you can shut your eyes, you know, put on a pair of shades. I'm not going to lie to you people. I have a vicious headache. But when this thing is over, my mind is going to retreat to the back of the brain and go, boy, this dude just isn't going to give in. He just is not going to give in. It's a battle. It is a daily battle. And I assure you people, I am not here to brag about me. I am not here to brag about me. And if that's what you got, you should have been listening to the part about my dad or my kid. I'm here to tell you that by screwing up every single way that a human being can screw up, I have learned a few things. And those things have kept me off of heroin for 1 month shy of 8 years. And those things will keep me sober until I leave the planet. I'll tell you something else. If you've got people in your life, you're married, you got a girlfriend or a boyfriend that you spend a ton of time with, you got a homeboy or a homegirl, you know, that person that you just 3 or 4 times a week, you hang out with this person. Like, they are really important to you. You talk to them all the time, whatever. There's nobody in my life that sees me on a regular basis that I have not sat down with and had the conversation. Hey, man, if I ever show up and I just look different, I don't mean like I'm wasted, right? But if I just look like my attitude's changed or, you know, my grooming has changed, like I don't look like I'm trying to take care of myself, and you see something strange, I want you to call me on it. I'm not going to be a jerk. And you don't have to yell at me. All you have to say is, you remember when you told me to look out? Well, you're scaring me. You're making me nervous. That's all. If you hear nothing that I say, and very often you probably don't, and I'm not saying that in a mean way. I'm really not. I know why we do this. We do this so that we can get together and talk to one another, and I think that's awesome. But if you hear one thing today, you take away anything from this, if you stop journaling, you're going to relapse. I promise you. It may not take, 2 days, might take a year, might take 3 years. But the people who die sober journal till the day that they die. It does so much more than help you stay sober. It reminds you when you're an ass. It reminds you when you're lazy. It reminds you when you're not treating the people who love you the way that they should be treated. You'll write down, I got a call from my son. I got a call from my daughter. I got a call from so-and-so. I was just too busy to take it. You're too busy to take a call from your kid. You're doing something wrong. Sorry. I am. If I'm not taking a call. I love everybody on the lifeboat. I do everything I can to help people stay sober. I really do. But I will hang up on you in a heartbeat if my kid calls. I don't know. You know what I mean? I'm at least going to check. I'm going to have to put you on hold and make sure that he's just calling to say, hey, Dad wanted to tell you that I loved you. Because if it's any other reason, I'm going to have to hang up. If not, I'm giving up ground. If not, I'm moving away from my target, which is to be put in a box, having never used again. To get put in the box and have the 27th of June still be my sobriety date. I was confused for a long time. If you're thinking to yourself, I swear to God, he said the 26th. I said the 26th for, I think, the first year on this show. And then somebody wrote me an email and said, I have a question. Was that the last day that you got high, or was that the first day that you didn't get high? Well, I got stabbed on the 26th, right? I got high that morning. So I said, no, that's the last time that I ever used any. He said, then that's not your sobriety date. Which you think might have occurred to somebody like me, but it did not. For a long time, for years, I was putting down the wrong day. So it was the following day was my sobriety date, the 27th. But that's going to remain my sobriety date for the rest of my life. It's the little things, peeps. It's the little things, because the little things add up to really big things. You know, I'll give you one last illustration because I think it's funny. I was going to court for bank robbery, and I had an attorney that actually cared about me, probably a little too much, but I had an attorney that actually cared about me, and there was a legal team. There was actually multiple attorneys, but I had been interviewed by the FBI for a long, long time. There had been 4 or 5 different interviews. And at the time I was free. This isn't after being arrested or anything else. They were calling me in off the street to accuse me of stuff. And I was just, sitting and talking with them. But the last time they called me in, I said to them, you know what? I don't think I want to answer any more of your questions without having an attorney present. Because the line of questioning was no longer theoretical. Now they were talking about things that, I knew I was in trouble, and I knew it was just going to be a matter of time before the case they were building against me got me arrested. So I said to them, I don't want to answer any more questions without an attorney. However, they didn't let me leave, right? I mean, they were between me and the door, and for the next hour and a half, they continued to ask me questions. I didn't answer any of them. I promise you I didn't. I would just go, or I could answer a no, or no, I'm not talking to you about this, or look, I told you I had no intention of answering this without my attorney. But I mean, I didn't say one thing that incriminated myself. But my legal team were filing motions to get that entire interview thrown out because I had requested an attorney and they had continued to interview me. And I remember sitting down with my attorney and going, why are we wasting our time on this? Have you read the transcript? I didn't say one damn thing in that interview that could get me in any trouble at all. And they said, no, you definitely didn't. But we want them to know that we're not going to give up an inch, that we are not going to allow them to do one thing in this prosecution that is not to the letter of the law. So we spent probably 6 hours in court arguing and presenting motions and everything else to get this thrown out for no apparent reason other than we were not going to give up an inch. We were going to let the enemy, at that point was the prosecution, know that they were in for a fist fight and that we were going to keep swinging until the trial was over. And fortunately, there was no trial. Because when you do that long enough, they decide that they don't want to go through with this. It's the same thing that happens with the brain. The brain will just kind of toss its hands up and say, well, maybe I'll just quit trying to piss him off today because obviously he's going to fight me at every turn. I was not looking forward to doing this lifeboat. You can't see my hands because I swear to God, people, I'm wringing them. Right? I am having a really tough time getting through this, especially because I was a little unprepared. As a as a speaker, if you got a couple of bullet points or you have a direction that you intend to take the show in, that really helps. But I was coming down the stairs at 10 minutes till, so I had to make a cup of coffee and sit down. I had to make a thumbnail. You notice my thumbnail was really, really a lot of time and effort went into that thumbnail. It's I think it just says Saturday with Tommy or something like that. But when this one's over, I will have a sense of satisfaction that I probably have not had on a show in a very long time. And not because it's the best show I've done in a long time, because I'll be really honest with you, it's not. But because I did it in spite of the fact that I really don't feel good. Yeah. Don't give up any ground. Do not give up an inch of ground. This is your sobriety. You got to put it before everything. Everything. And every time people argue that with me and they give me any other reason, I promise you, whatever that reason is, you're going to lose it without your sobriety. Well, my family comes first. If your family comes first, you're going to stop doing dope. You know, sobriety's got to be key. You want a great relationship with people, wife, whatever. You're going to stop getting high. Or you're going to stop being an alcoholic. You're going to stop being whatever. That's how you build a long-term relationship that's going to last. Well, God needs to be more important. Yep. I have been a very fervent believer in the Lord from the day that I was born. But boy, I left him. I walked away. I never stopped believing. I just stopped talking to him for about 3 decades. Don't get me wrong. You know, you get arrested, then you start talking to him again. Or, you know, you run up a drug debt and there's someone ready to kill you. You usually start talking to him again because there are no atheists in foxholes. But I don't care what you want to list that is more important than your sobriety. I assure you it's not. And if you make it more important than your sobriety, you will lose not only that thing that you listed, but you will lose your sobriety as well. You know, a family's more important to me than anything. Good. Then make sobriety number one in your life, and you'll have a hell of a family life. God's more important. Fantastic. He should be. Make sobriety more important in your life, and you're going to spend a lot of time talking to him, reading about him. I promise you. I get debated by people on this, which I find hysterically funny. But if you want to be the best version of yourself, not just for you, but for the people that you care about, then you're going to make sure that sobriety is first in your life. Plain and simple. That's what you are going to do. And you will not regret it, I promise you. All right, peeps. On that note, I think that I think I'm going to call it a day. The sun is starting to come up over that hill, and I'm going to go look at it. All righty. So I want to thank all of you that tuned in this morning. God bless you. Go out and make it a hell of a day, huh? Don't give up any ground, not an inch. All right? Don't give up any ground. You'll thank me later. Oh, hold on. Come here, kid. Oh, cat in the basket. Thanks, squirrel. Almost forgot. That's jacked up. Have a great day, peeps.